4,095 American troops are dead, nearly 30,000 more wounded, 40,000 diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, all since the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Our fourth story on the countdown, and John McCain says it's not too important when the others finally come home. To add insult upon their injuries, today McCain and his dog's body, Senator Lieberman, insinuated that his own status as a Vietnam vet somehow justifies his contention that the young men and women fighting for our country now should stay there indefinitely.
My friends, veterans hate war more than anyone else. I know that it has caused great heartache and pain because I've visited with families and I know them. But I also want to tell you that I believe that in the conflict in Iraq, with this new strategy, we are succeeding.
Joined now by Brandon Friedman, Vice Chairman of VoteVets.org. He himself served in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Thank you again for your time tonight, sir.
Thanks for having me on, Keith. Glad to be here.
How do veterans families feel when they hear that the man who wants to be the next commander-in-chief does not think it's too important when they come home?
Keith, this is a morale crusher. You know, if you can imagine, say, a sergeant who's on his third tour and he's in the 14th month of that tour and he hears the potential president saying something like this, it kills morale. You know, the troops are over there, and you know, I've been there, I've had to deal with this, but the troops over there hang on every word they hear from a leader, you know, especially the commander-in-chief, but also someone who could be the commander-in-chief. And when they hear something like this, you know, it really kills them on the inside because, you know, their families want them home, they want to come home, you know, or focus on the real global war on terror elsewhere. But this is really killer when you hear something like this.
What I hear when I hear from servicemen or I talk to vets more than anything else is their astonishment when generals or veterans like McCain or the brass, to use the general term there, don't get it. That of all people, these are the ones they naively thought would understand risk and sacrifice. Does it matter more that they are abandoned by a John McCain who did serve as opposed to a George Bush who did not?
Absolutely, Keith. You know, we've come to not expect a whole lot from George W. Bush. But when you have a veteran like John McCain who has gone through so much in Vietnam, you really expect a lot more out of him, because the way you see it as a soldier or a Marine or an airman or whatever is that John McCain should know better. You know, he's been in our shoes. He's had it worse than most of us, you know, but he should know better. And, you know, for those of us who've been there and who've lived through this, we just would expect a lot more, and it really saddens us, you know, to see this happen, because there are thousands and thousands of veterans who just disagree with him on this.
And the Lieberman reaction, or the reaction to his reaction, where basically he referenced McCain's status as veteran, as POW, as war hero, as carte blanche for the excuse for this, as if McCain is immune to military criticism simply because he was a POW, that the merits can't even be discussed. Then that reminds me of every bit of Army red tape I've ever heard of, or every bit of censorship that a military sometimes invokes in times of war relative to its own personnel.
Absolutely. You know, we all respect John McCain's service, but he's not the only person who's suffered in war. We have troops coming back from this war who are quadriplegics, who've been maimed, who've had to go through so much. And, you know, it doesn't give him a carte blanche reason to say something like that. He doesn't get a free pass. You know, we've been over there too. We've been in war too. And we know what it's like. And he doesn't get a free pass, especially from us, because we hold him to a higher standard. And, you know, all I can say is that we respect John McCain's service. All we ask in return is that he respect ours. And for many of the people I talk to who are on active duty or who've just come off active duty but who have served over there, we don't feel like we're getting that a lot of the time.
Brandon Friedman, veteran of the wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan, now with VoteVets.org. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks for having me.